Hey toy fans, I'm D21Beast and welcome back to my figure review series here on my YouTube channel. And today we're once again looking at those excellent Marvel Legends figures released by Hasbro. We've got the Scarlet Witch figure, part of the Odin the Allfather wave of Marvel Legends Infinite series, released in 2015. Now this is the first wave of figures to tie into the Avengers movie coming out this summer, and I've already reviewed Hawkeye from this wave. Now, if you're not familiar with who Scarlet Witch is, definitely check the link to my previous Scarlet Witch review that I did last Halloween, and you'll get the backstory of what this character's all about. Bit of a change from what I explained in that video. She's now no longer the daughter of Magneto. Whoever saw that coming, right guys? But other than that point, her backstory is still pretty much the same. They're still kind of developing what that exactly means in the comic books right now in Uncanny Avengers. So if you're not reading Rick Remender's new book, definitely make sure you're checking that out. We're going to learn a lot about Scarlet Witch and her brother Quicksilver here in the next few months. Well, I was really excited to see that we got a redo of this figure, guys. If you watched that previous review, you'll know that I was not happy at all with the Legendary Riders wave of Scarlet Witch. So let's go ahead and get things started by taking a look at the packaging for this figure. As you come down the front of the box, you do see the Build-A-Figure Allfather wave logo in the upper left. You've got the logo for Marvel in the center. You then have a window box packaging that does house the Scarlet Witch figure inside, as well as her accessories and Build-A-Figure pieces. Then as you come to the bottom of the box, you have the logo for Marvel Legends Infinite series, and finally the label for the figure. Scarlet Witch is swap packed with the Carol Danvers version of Captain Marvel. Flipping this package around, as you come down the back of the box, you have the Marvel Legends Infinite series logo in the upper left and a very large Marvel logo in the upper right. You have the bio for the Maidens of Might. Go ahead and pause now to read that. As you come down the center of the package, you do see Scarlet Witch and the Carol Danvers Captain Marvel up close, and then you have the image of the Build-A-Figure Allfather wave logo there towards the center. And then finally at the bottom you have a complete lineup of all the figures currently available in this wave, as well as what all of their Build-A-Figure pieces combine to create. We have Odin the Allfather off to the left. Alright guys, well that's the packaging. Let's say we get Scarlet Witch out of the box and see what the heck this figure is all about. Alright toy fans, here we have Scarlet Witch out of the box, and my immediate impression of this figure is very positive. I really like the way that the paint applications have come out. They're very clean and very sharp. And I really like the sculpting detail that this figure has. My only complaint immediately out of the box is that the fact that her knees seem a little bit loose. So the Scarlet Witch figure actually has to kind of lean on her cape a little bit for me to be able to stand her. Not such a bad thing because I think this cape accessory looks nice and it does add for some dynamic posing. But it would be nice if I could stand this figure up without having to use some sort of display base. Now Scarlet Witch does have peg holes in the bottom of her feet, so if you do have a display base, one of the Hasbro ones, you can go ahead and pose her on that and she should look just fine. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at the sculpting on this figure. As I pull the figure in, you're going to see here that she has a very nice head sculpt. I like the way that the hair has been sculpted on this figure with this sort of dark brown wash going in between the different hairlines. I think that brings out a lot of detail of the hair and makes it look really nice. And then I like that the crown or the headdress for the Scarlet Witch figure is actually a separate piece that's just glued onto the figure's head. The previous Scarlet Witch release that we saw, the headdress was actually painted, and I didn't think the paint applications were very nice, so Hasbro avoided the problem altogether by just making it a separate piece, so that was a very nice move. And I like the way that the hair is actually sculpted to come over the headdress as well. And then looking at the figure's face, you can see the lipstick, the eyes, the eyebrows are all very sharp, very clean. Very happy with how that came out. Looking at the cape here, you'll see that there is some sculpted detail around the neck of the cape and even continues as it comes around here to the back. We've got some paint shading on the cape too, which is very nice, adds a lot of definition and detail to the cape. And then flipping the figure back around, you're going to see that she does have the classic Scarlet Witch costume here. Now, there's two different versions of this costume, I guess. One that has sort of the pink color on the legs and on the shoulders and on the chest. They chose to go with the sort of flesh-exposed version of that costume. I think I would have liked to see the pink version of that costume instead. That's kind of how I think of Scarlet Witch anytime I think of her. But with the costume we did get, I think that the paint applications came out very cleanly and very nicely, and it doesn't look too bad. But like I said, I think I would have liked to see pink, or at least maybe had it as an option. But then you'll also notice here that on the chest and on the upper arms of the figure, this is actually a paint on flesh-colored plastic. And then with the forearms of the torso and then the arm over here, that's actually molded red plastic. So there is a bit of a paint discrepancy as you look closely at the figure, but I don't think it's too bad. And then coming down we have that pink paint I already mentioned, and then, or pink plastic, and then the pink paint actually here on the leg. The legs themselves are molded in red plastic. Coming all the way down, there's no further paint detailing aside from what's up here on the thighs. And then the figure itself is basically done at that point. I mean, there's no additional paint detail, but overall a really nice figure, and I'm very happy with what Hasbro's given us with this Scarlet Witch figure. I think it's a lot better than what we got from Toy Biz previously. I'd like to take a moment now to quickly compare the two Scarlet Witch figures we've received from the Marvel Legends line. On the right you have the old Toy Biz figure, and on the left you have this new Hasbro figure. And you can see that pretty much this figure wins about everywhere it counts. Now this old Scarlet Witch figure had some sculpted hair detail as well with some wash in it, but it just ended up looking really bad the way it just kind of flares out flat at the shoulders. The cape on the Scarlet Witch figure is very small. It is actually a softer, pliable material, which is kind of nice, but outside of that, it just looks kind of tacked on and not very good. And then the figure overall has a smaller body stature than the figure we have here on the left. The legs are really thin, the arms are really thin, the torso is even pretty thin. Now, I will give Toy Biz credit for giving some paint shading on the Scarlet Witch figure, but because the figure is so weirdly shaped, these paint shading marks actually serve to make the figure look actually dirty, I think, more than it does add to any sort of detail or body definition. And then we have sort of a Buccaneer-style boot on the Scarlet Witch figure, where this one has the sort of full leg boot. So, again, I guess that's a preference thing. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen this pink color maybe on this Scarlet Witch figure in the same style that this figure looks, but overall, I think this figure wins in about every category it needs to. And it's so great that Hasbro finally updated Scarlet Witch and gave us a better figure. Scarlet Witch comes packed in with all the accessories that you see here. Most of what she's got, though, is for the Odin Build-A-Figure. We've got Odin's cape, which we'll look at if I ever finish that figure. We've got his head, and then we've also got Odin's staff. So, great accessories, but again, we'll probably cover those later whenever I finish that Build-A-Figure, if I finish it. But then what Scarlet Witch has that's actually for her are these sort of hex rings. I mean, it's just like a ring of magic, which I think is a great sort of sculpt detail here. We've got different spikes and different sort of rings. I mean, it just looks a lot like the way the effect is drawn in the comics. And you'll notice that there's two sets of loops here. There's a hole here that actually fits Scarlet Witch's wrist, but then there's a hole here, which would seem to indicate that they're going to reuse this piece for future Magic characters. And in fact, at Toy Fair this year, we already saw they're recoloring this piece and including it with Doctor Strange. So, to put it on Scarlet Witch, what you can do here is her hands actually come out really easily. They're just on, little pegs here. And you can hold this ring up to the Scarlet Witch figure, and then put the hand back on. And let's just get it on there. And as you see here, once you get the hands attached back to the figure, you can adjust these magical effects to your liking. Moving on to articulation, we see that Scarlet Witch does have a ball-jointed head that'll bend down this far, not very far, and bend back not very far at all either. It's all sort of hindered by the cape and the sculpt of the hair, but her head does rotate left and right just a bit, and it could spin all the way around if you really force it. She's got a ball-jointed shoulder that does spin all the way around. It's a little hindered by the cape, but it will rotate all the way around and bend out in the body up that far. It's not really hindered by the cape, it won't actually go up any higher. Then she's got a single jointed elbow that does bend down that far and bend back that far. She also rotates full 360 degrees at the elbow, as well as having a hinge at the wrist that moves back that far and down that far, and she rotates all the way around at the wrist. That articulation is copied here on the other side. She doesn't have any sort of waist swivel, but she's got an ab joint, or diaphragm joint, I guess, that rotates and rocks all the way around. She can bend forward that far and bend back that far. The cape does not hinder that movement. And then she's got a hip joint that'll bend forward that far, bend back, only about that far, a little past standing. And it does bend out from the body just a tad. She's got upper thigh swivel that rotates all the way around, as well as having a double jointed knee that collapses in very nicely. And then she's got an ankle that'll move forward that far, move back that far, and then there is an ankle pivot like we've seen with the Hasbro figures. So a pretty decent range of motion on this figure. Height-wise, we can see that this Scarlet Witch figure does come in just a little bit under 7 inches tall. She'd probably stand a little bit taller if she didn't have to lean on her cape. For some size comparison, here we have Scarlet Witch compared to the Target exclusive 3-pack Miss Marvel figure. Here she is compared to the tallest female Marvel Legend figure we've received so far, She-Hulk. And finally, here she is compared to the 6-inch scale Marvel Legends Infinite Series Wolverine. Alright, toy fans, well that's my review of the Marvel Legends Infinite Series Maidens of Might Odin Allfather Wave Scarlet Witch figure released by Hasbro in 2015. Overall, this is a phenomenal figure and a great improvement over what Toy Biz gave us back in the Legendary Riders wave. If you guys are a fan of Avengers characters, X-Men characters, or really just the Mystic characters from the Marvel Universe, this is a figure you want to add to your collection. The paintwork is really clean, the sculpting is very nice, and the figure's got a great amount of detail on it. Now my only complaint is that I seem to have weak knees, and even one of the ankles on my Scarlet Witch figure tends to be a little weak. So you may need to watch out for that if you're out shopping around. Maybe it's just my figure, maybe it's all of them, I don't know. But overall, I think that the benefits of this figure and the pros of this figure definitely outweigh the cons, so definitely check this figure out. Well, that's my review, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw here, please feel free to rate, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.